When you have a setback, when you have a tough day, what do you say to your people? What do you say to the fans?
The conversations we've had today, that it's over. You know, there's nothing you can do about it. You think for a second, is there anything I can change? You think for another second, what have I learned so I can do it differently next time? And then you move forward and say, what are our options? I'm a big believer you have to re-earn your business every single day. You have to look to see whether or not you need to reinvent your business every day. I try to be very self-aware. I try to know what I'm good at and what I'm bad at. I try to have smart people around me all the time. And I cross my fingers. There's just some decisions that you just have to trust yourself. And let me also add, preparation is everything. People have always said, oh, you're such a huge risk taker. I never take risks. Any business I've ever started, I've always felt like I've done my homework, I've done the preparation. This isn't a risk. In my little world, I just try to be prepared, have great people around me, and be prepared, make the best decision I can, and hope for the best. I read everything I can get my hands on. I talk to as many smart people as I can. I like to, someone once said, you have to test your whole card. A lot of times we think we know something, and sometimes success can be your worst enemy because you think you're smarter than you are. And so, even though I feel confident about something, I feel good about something, I'm always like, okay, am I sure that's an ace, or does that change to a jack? So I want to talk to smart people always and check my whole card. I always did everything back-ass half-words. I like to challenge myself, and I went to Mount Lebanon High School in Pittsburgh, and I wanted to take business classes my junior year, only they didn't offer any business classes. And so I decided I'd take some college business classes, but University of Pittsburgh didn't offer any real business classes either. So I said, I'm going to challenge myself. And so I took a couple night classes at the University of Pittsburgh my junior year in high school, did well in them, and wasn't really challenged all that much at all. And so I just dropped out of high school, and instead of going back for my senior year, I went to the University of Pittsburgh and started taking classes there. My buddies were like, "Where'd you go?" And it was I've always tried to challenge myself. Yeah. It's not bad necessarily to take intellectual chances. What's the downside? They put me back in freshman English. The upside is I challenge myself. I realize I can compete with people a lot older and smarter than me if I just put in the effort and put in the time. And so it was a great experience, I know I'm stupid, but there's a lot of people a lot smarter than me. I'm just a believer that everybody's got one or two things that they're really, really, really good at, that they're wired for. And the hard part is just finding it and having the confidence to go after it. It's funny how much you can learn from a company that's failing or a company that's not doing well. I learned that sales cures all. I learned that RTFM, read the freaking manual. Yeah. Most people don't spend the time, particularly in the tech world, just to read. The beauty of tech is that it's changing every minute of every day. And there's really two classes of people in the tech world. The person or people who invented it, and then there's everybody else. And other than the people who created the technology, everybody else is in the same boat. If you just spend the time to learn, whatever it is, well, you're competing with people who are having to do the exact same thing. And by reading the manual, by investing the time to try to get up front on technology, you can be ahead of the curve because most people won't put in the effort. And then I also learned, as you were mentioning, that in any company, that if the head of the company isn't focused on selling, there's a good chance that company's going to fail, because there's no company that's ever survived without sales. And they proved the point by going out of business. Well, I got fired from your business software about 9 months in, and took a customer from there and started a company called Micro Solutions. And it was me, just me, basically. And I found an office that, well, actually I worked out of my apartment in the Village at the beginning, and what it was about was, to the point I just mentioned, technology comes fast and furious, and most people are afraid or don't take the time to learn or want help for whatever reason. And then once you start learning a couple pieces of software, you get referrals, and I just grew the company and kept on growing and growing. And we made a couple right strategic moves. I always tried to ask myself, what's next? What's coming next? My whole attitude was work hard, play hard, and I didn't take a vacation for 7 years during Micro Solutions. When I see something, I always say, is that the best way to do it? Is that the only way to do it? I mean, it's weird. I mean, I'll be in a restaurant and I'll be thinking, my mind will work in the processes. It's like I was at an event and I saw John Legend there, and we were listening to another band. When you listen to music, what do you see? What do you hear? And he started telling me about how he hears the arrangements and how he would do things differently and how he would compose things differently. And when I see business processes, no matter what it is, I always say, okay, is this the way I would do it? Is this the best possible way to do it? What would make it more efficient? What would make it more profitable? Is there an opportunity? Are they doing it so wrong that, and this is the way it's always been done, that there's an opportunity for a new business? And then the last part is, am I willing to do the work to make sure I'm right? Everybody's got something that they're good at, and the hard part is just finding it. And I found out early that I was a good salesperson, that I really liked business. Like I like sports. I mean, I read everything I possibly could, played sports as much as I could, just wasn't as good as I wanted to be. And business was the same way. I mean, as long as I could remember, I was buying and selling baseball cards, garbage bags, whatever I could find, stamps, to collectors. But I was also reading everything I possibly could about business. And at the end of the day, if you're going to be great at something, you've got to make the effort to be great at something. Whether it's sports, whether it's physics, math, science, business, whatever it may be, it's not just a natural skill. You've got to learn, and particularly if you're in the technology industry, because it changes every day.
Out of all the reasons in the world, and I've read your book, you have the 10, all these keys to success, etc. What would you say is the number one reason why people fail? Not necessarily why they make it, the complete opposite.
Right, lack of brains, lack of effort. Yeah, they don't do the work. They don't learn, when you walk in the room, when you start a business and you start to talk about somebody, you're never in a vacuum with no competition, unless you're just extremely lucky. And if there's going to be competition, that means somebody else knows your business as well as you do when you get started. And if you walk into a competitive environment and they still know more about the business than you do and more about your customers, you're going to lose. But most people don't consider that. They don't do the work. They don't learn more about their industry. They don't know even about their business. And so you've got to put in the effort to know more about your industry than anybody else. And that's the brains part, and that's the effort part as well. And so, the combination is usually what kills businesses early on more than anything. If you're going to have and run a business, if you don't understand accounting, you're already behind the 8 ball.
Can't you hire a guy that knows how to run
But then
accounting?
they still have to communicate to you, right? I mean, there's people that don't understand the concept of, the difference between profits and cash. Your accountant might tell you you're profitable, but your cash is going down. Not understanding a breakdown. And when you don't,
Do you think you need college to learn that?
yeah, I think you do, right? Because it may not, for some people, look, if you're so self-motivated that you can take an online course in accounting and teach yourself everything, you're way ahead of the game anyways. But most people aren't.